Joining us now is Atty. Maria Sol Taule. She's the Deputy Secretary General of Karapatan, a human rights group closely monitoring the ICC proceedings against former President Duterte. Thank you so much for joining us, Attorney.
Good morning, Danny, and good morning to all your listeners and viewers. Thank you for inviting me.
What a big day yesterday. Give us your impressions, your thoughts.
Well, we've heard about the charges read to Duterte, and we heard the statements from both parties. And I was with the victims and rights advocates yesterday at UP Diliman, and we were happy that it finally pushed through after 10 years. Since we've been pushing for accountability and justice for the victims of the drug war. But of course, this is still a long way to go. But of course, the victims are willing to wait, no matter how long it takes, as long as they see Duterte to be finally convicted and spend the rest of his life in the ICC.
Attorney, can you clarify why there was such a delay? I think it was 5 months delay just for this pre-trial hearing. As a lawyer yourself, I'm sure you've been watching this, and as you mentioned, the families have been closely waiting for this day that finally happened. What caused that?
Yes, if you remember, Danny, there's a lot of motions filed by the Duterte camp, from declaring him unfit for trial, and so many other dilatory tactics just to delay the proceedings. But finally, and even the waiver of appearance of Duterte yesterday, but finally the ICC said that even without Duterte appearing yesterday and even in the succeeding days, they will push through with the confirmation of charges. So we're here, finally here, after all those postponements.
Let's talk about the opening statements that were given yesterday. No? How strong do you think the prosecution was versus, of course, the defense?
I think the prosecution did a very good job yesterday during the opening statements, because they laid down the basis for the ICC to consider and to confirm the charges against Duterte. I mean, it's all over. Well, it's well documented. It's covered by the media. All the statements by Duterte, his policy of kill, kill, kill in the name of the drug war. It was presented. It was flashed through the screen. So I guess the prosecution was able to clearly lay down that this is a state policy, that Duterte is most responsible for this policy of drug war killings. So we were hoping that finally the ICC will confirm the charges so that this case will finally proceed to trial.
As a lawyer yourself, no, for this to proceed to trial, they need to, it's at the level of the prosecution to be the one to show this evidence, and you had the defense pushing for that, saying, you know, this needs to be stronger, and they presented, I think it was an amount of speeches that the prosecution had, quote unquote, cut deliberately, and there's, I suppose, new evidence that these speeches said certain things. How worrying is this for your camp that it might impact the decision of the judges for a full trial?
Well, Danny, to me, it's not even that worrying, because, I mean, the statements of Duterte, even in his press conferences, are very clear. Sabi ko nga, probably mahihirapan po ang depensa to controvert all of this evidence that will be presented during trial, because Duterte made it clear. Duterte afforded immunity sa police officers to be held accountable, to kill people, to plant evidence, and all of that. So, I guess hindi na po ubra dito yung sinasabi ni Kaufman, that old narrative that the statements of Duterte were misquoted, that the prosecution cherry-picked the statements. But when you take the evidence altogether, points to him as directly responsible for the drug war killings, that he ordered it. That's a very systematic process by his administration to go after his conceived drug addicts or drug pushers that resulted to the thousands of killings of poor Filipinos. So I guess it's not worrying at all, because again, the evidence is there, out there. You can easily Google it, you can easily search it on YouTube, and when you take it all together, you can establish that this is clearly a pattern, this is a system that is put up by Duterte.
But just to clarify, no, for our viewers here, there's no presentation of evidence at this point, right? So it's
Not
just
yet,
a confirmation.
not yet, Danny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And so the concern of the people is not at this point is not whether he is guilty for these crimes or not. It's really whether they will even be able to present the evidence. What are the risks at this point, attorney, that this evidence might not even be presented or might not even be seen because the case might not go to trial?
Yeah. Right now, Danny, it's really up to the judges of the pre-trial chamber to decide whether this will push through trial. No, they have 60 days from the last day of the confirmation of charges to decide if this will finally go to trial. So we will wait for it. But right now, what the party said in the opening statements will stand as it is. And what we can do now as a member of the civil society is to wait for the period of time given to the ICC to decide on the sufficiency of evidence for the trial to pursue.
I'm sure you've been following also previous situations at the ICC. Have there really been instances where they have dismissed or not gone to trial, or the fact that you're already held at the ICC, the fact that you've been arrested at such a public level, is this not naman a guarantee but a sort of implication that this will go to a full-fledged trial?
Yeah, sa advisory, according to the advisory released by the ICC, there are scenarios given by the ICC. One is to proceed to trial, and one is to not proceed to trial. So they can, the victims can still adduce evidence, and there's a possibility that Duterte can be released. So andyan po lahat ng mga possibilities. But right now, as it stands, as I've said, I think there's a sufficient evidence for Duterte to be held to go to trial, because yun na nga yung sinabi natin sa opening statements of the prosecution. I think they were able to establish all the grounds for Duterte to go to trial. So yun po yung ina-expect natin ng mga scenarios for today.
There's another scenario which is amend. What would that mean? And how could that push the timeline?
Yeah, if there is no sufficient evidence as of this moment, kung mag-decide po during the 60-day period, then the prosecution can still file for additional evidence, and so that means amendment. So yun po yung pwede nating maging remedy just in case na hindi po ma-confirm yung charges.
What more can be presented in the rest of the week that we hadn't seen in the first day, which was already 3 hours live stream, more than 5 hours, but you have 3 more days to convince the judges for this to push through. What are we hoping for, or what are you hoping for? What are you hoping to see to make them convinced?
Yeah, actually, Danny, for today and 26th and the 27th is the continuation, but it can be shortened. Depende po doon sa takbo. The prosecution and the defense will have a submission on the merits, and then after that, may closing statements po sila. So, depends kung matatapos yung up to the 27th or it can be shortened. But we will follow it po. As of now, we are still monitoring yung takbo po ng proceedings from today up to the 27th.
Okay.
So it's more or less talkish pa rin yan, laying down of evidence na meron po yung both parties and statements.
Okay, so they can say the evidence that they have without presenting it, tama ba?
Yes. I mean, they did it yesterday. They already flashed videos. So
yes.
I guess ganun pa rin yung takbo.
Oo nga. Can you nuance that a little bit? Bakit pwede yun, pero no showing of evidence? Does that not sway the judge's decision?
It's part of the opening statements.
Pwede.
They will have a time to present witnesses, testimonial witnesses at the trial. Pero sa trial pa yon. So, but now, they're still laying down the context and everything, and they are allowed to use presentations.
Okay. We have 3 counts of crimes against humanity, 49 incidents, at least 76 murders, no? You have been talking to the victims' families. Is
Yes.
this exhaustive enough for them? The numbers are much larger, obviously, from multiple reports. Have you spoken to the people? Are they satisfied with how this is going? Does this give them a better sense of justice? Or meron pa bang pagkukulang na nafe-feel ng mga tao?
Well, for the victims, as I've talked to them yesterday, at least meron silang sense of hope as of this moment because it's been 10
Okay.
years, Danny, since the drug war was implemented by Duterte. And finally, this is history that we're talking about na nangyari kahapon, that finally, the highest official of the land is being charged with crimes against humanity in the ICC. And hindi po nangyari yan ever. So talagang with the help of rights advocates, syempre yung pong courage ng victims, dahil hindi naman po ito mangyayari kung hindi dahil sa kanila. Nangyari po yung very historic moment yesterday. So sabi nga nila, they're willing to wait no matter how long it takes, as long as they get the justice for their loved ones. Medyo mabagal, marami pong dilatory tactics na ine-employ yung Duterte camp, but this will not affect the resolve of the families to fight for justice until the end. Hanggang magkaroon po to ng resolution, or mag-push to sa trial at magkaroon finally ng resolution convicting Duterte. They will wait for it. Dahil umabot na po sila, in their words, nga sabi nila, umabot na sila dito, ngayon pa ba sila susuko. So, siguro, and we hope, Danny, in the coming months, more victims will have the courage to surface. Marami po sa kanila yung takot because Dutertes are still in power. In fact, Sara Duterte is vying for presidency.
Correct. Yeah.
So, it's very hard for them to come out in the open and tell their stories and join itong pong pinaglalaban na hustisya po para sa lahat ng victims. So hopefully, sa takbo po ng trial, we will be getting more victims. At any point of the trial naman po, pwede pong magdagdag ng mga victims po to join the proceedings.
Can you clarify that, no? So at any point in time, pwede pa magdagdag ng evidence?
Yes po, yung mga witnesses, yung mga victims po na gustong maghain po sa ICC can after this confirmation of charges, meron po silang puwang to join.
Okay, throughout the entire proceeding. You mentioned, attorney, you've been talking to the victims and they have a concern regarding the Dutertes remaining in power. Can you clarify what you mean by that? Of course, as you mentioned, the official announcement of the Vice President came quite timely, no? How would this impact, do you think, this case? How would this impact the situation of the victims' need for hope or justice?
Yes, actually, Tani, ang concern nila yung pag bumalik ang mga Duterte in power, balikan sila di ba? So, which is a very valid concern. Hindi lang naman Vice President, sa Davao, the Dutertes are still reigning in power. So, yan po yung takot nila. And even nga na Vice President pa lang si Sara Duterte, grabe po ang backlash na tinatanggap po ng mga victims, online and offline. That they're being called bayaran, that they are being called na yung mga kamag-anak naman nila, drug addict, and that they deserve to be killed. So, ganun pong klaseng mga statements po, pinapakawalan ng Duterte camp, pati mga trolls nila. So, what more kung makahawak ulit sa kapangyarihan po yung mga Duterte sa pinakamataas na kapangyarihan, in fact. So, they worry a lot about Sara Duterte being vindictive, pero dinanay na po niya sa interviews na sabi niya, she's not vindictive. But then again, wala naman tayong pinapaniwalaan sa sinasabi ng mga Duterte. So everything really is possible, and our concern is the safety of the victims.
Are you confident that since this is at ICC level, that no amount of power that the president has locally could impact the trial of her father?
Yes, we are confident on that. This is not the Philippine justice system we're talking about. So, we believe that ICC cannot be swayed by any kind of influence from the Philippines.
What message does that send about the Philippines justice system, attorney?
Yeah, yun na nga eh. Hindi po tayo nakapag-prosecute dito, and that was mentioned by Attorney Joel Butuyan yesterday. He quoted Justice Secretary na, the evidence is gone. We cannot prosecute. So what do we expect? That's why we're here at the ICC now. Umabot po tayo sa ganitong punto ngayon ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, that at the level of impunity in the Philippines, umabot po tayo sa sasakdal ng dating presidente ng Pilipinas sa ICC. So it's very sad that it happened sa Pilipinas, and it's still happening. Hindi pa naman po nawawala ang drug war. There's still drug war in the Philippines. But hopefully, this will bring about meaningful changes, lalo na po sa mga relatives ng victims for justice, and yung pong restitution, yung mga nawala po sa kanila because of what happened to them.
Finally, Attorney, before we let you go, there's now some resolutions filed in the House by the opposition to join the ICC. At this point, what would that even do?
We're calling for the Philippines to rejoin the ICC.
Yes, correct.
Kasi again, that's parang check and balance yan eh. Yan na nga yung dahilan why Duterte is in the ICC now. And at least there's some sort of accountability that the victims can access just in case, and hopefully hindi na ulit mangyari dito sa Pilipinas. So we really demand noon pa kay President Marcos Jr. to rejoin the ICC.
Have you heard, what's your expectation on that, especially since, of course, Duterte is already in the ICC? Are you expecting this to happen? Are you hoping for this to happen right away?
We
How
are
long do you
hoping
think?
for this to happen because it's very important. This is the last resort of the Filipinos who cannot find justice in their very own country. So we hope that Marcos Jr. will do it. But again, sabi ko nga, with this administration, no high hopes masyado, pero we will keep pushing for it.
Of course, we need accountability here in our own country, and not to always deploy people to the ICC. Thank you very much. We'll be watching that very closely. And thank you so much for all your efforts, Attorney Maria Sol Taule, Deputy Secretary General of Karapatan.